Okay, cool. Yeah. We'll normally get started right over here. So yeah, like Charlie said, welcome. So we decided to throw some presentations together. So this is the first in the series, and this is about keeping your crypto experience secure. Um, so we'll be going over a bunch of things, but I just kind of wanted to introduce myself and introduce Bitbuy. So for those of you who don't know, I'm sure many of you do know though, Bitbuy, we're a Canadian owned and operated digital currency platform. And our mission is really to provide Canadians with convenient, dependable, and secure access to Bitcoin and other digital currencies. So, we really are passionate about, providing Canadians with that access and making that as easy as possible. And, security is a huge part of that and trust. So we thought this would be a good time to just kind of discuss some of those aspects and, go over that with you all. This presentation is led by me. I'm the manager of customer success here at Bitbuy. It's my job to kind of just connect with customers and make sure their experience here is good. And security is also a big part of that. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover a bunch of things. So basic account security is one thing. So that will cover passwords and two-factor authentication. We'll also go over safely storing your crypto. So wallets, types of wallets, and all of that. We're also going to talk about common scams and how to identify them. All those scams will relate to crypto, and we'll tell you what to expect and kind of like what to do if you think you're being targeted. We'll also talk about phishing and what it is exactly, how to spot it, and we're just going to end off with a couple of security tips. In this presentation, I'm just going to assume everyone here has already set up their Bitbuy account. So we're not going to go over like creating an account, but you can still take some of this information and apply it when creating your account if you haven't done so already. Also, this information applies to other online accounts, not just cryptocurrency. Of course, applies to other cryptocurrency platforms outside of Bitbuy, but it also applies to traditional financial applications such as online banking or online stock brokerages, or even like e-commerce accounts like your Amazon account. Okay, yeah. So first thing we're going to cover is passwords. So the golden rule of passwords, one that we always stress, is to never use the same password more than once. So there's many reasons for that, but one of the main reasons would be if your account gets hacked, or sorry, if the account you're using, if there's a data breach, right? So say you signed up for a service a long time ago that you no longer use, and there was a data breach for that service, your password might have been leaked. So if you use the same password for all your accounts, and that password gets leaked from a service that you might use for something not related to crypto or not related to online banking, whoever has access to that can use that to log into other accounts if you share that same password. There's actually a good way to check for this. There's a website. This one here, it's called haveibeenpwned.com. It's owned with a P. You can actually check if your account information has ever been leaked, right? So it's a good way to just know if your account information has ever been leaked or if ever been compromised in a data breach. But still, even if it hasn't been compromised, we still recommend always never using the same password more than once. We also recommend using a password manager. So there's two really popular ones that we recommend. LastPass is one of them, and 1Password is the other. And what these can do for you is they can help generate secure passwords. A randomized long string of numbers and letters, whatever is required. Like if you need to do an uppercase or lowercase letter or special characters, you can add all that in. And it actually safely stores your passwords and organizes them for you based on the category. And then, most of these password managers will have mobile apps and browser extensions that can help you log in, quickly and securely. Another thing that, we like to mention is that you should never, ever share your password with anybody. Especially, if you're dealing with if you're dealing with like a support agent or someone for a website who's trying to help you, there really isn't a situation where your required to give your password over for support. And we just want to always make it clear that Bitbuy support staff will never ask you for your password or 2FA codes. It's just really, never really required when we're helping you with your account and whatnot. It's a big red flag if a support agent does ask you for your password. So if that does happen, make sure not to give that up. Okay, moving along here, we're going to talk about two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication, also called 2FA for short, essentially it's an added layer of security that helps protect online accounts by requiring a secondary password or code in addition to the username and password. So we have that on Bitbuy. It's required by default for all Bitbuy accounts. And the default is SMS 2FA, which is a text message. It's definitely the most common method. However, it is not 100% secure. So what we mean by that is that hackers can actually gain access to your phone number and intercept your 2FA. So because of that, we always recommend Google Authenticator when possible. We allow users to switch from SMS to Google 2FA, Google Authenticator, just because you don't have that. You don't have that. It protects you from the potential SIM swapping or SIM hijacking, whatever you want to call it. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Google 2FA, what it is exactly, it's a mobile app that's made by Google. It uses a time-based one password algorithm. And those codes that are generated can only be accessed by the device that runs the software. So if you have it on your cell phone, it can only be accessed by your cell phone. One good thing, a benefit of using Google Authenticator is that it doesn't require any cell service or Wi-Fi connection. It's just running in the background on your phone based on that algorithm. And it's a big bonus for users who might travel frequently and may not be able to receive text messages if overseas. But either way, regardless, we do recommend switching to Google Authenticator if possible.
Yeah, and I just saw a couple questions in the chat here about expanding our options. We are looking into adding Auth and UB, which are other Google Authenticator comparable products. So just to answer that one quickly.
Yeah, there are other authenticator apps out there. With Bitbuy, we support Google Authenticator. And for anyone who needs help setting that up or wants more information about Google Authenticator, we have a support article that outlines the steps on how to do that exactly, and we can provide that if whoever needs that. So the three main takeaways we want to talk about here about that section would be to definitely use a password manager to store your passwords and to generate unique passwords for each online account you have. And then as well, never share your password with anyone, including support staff, and always use Google Authenticator when possible. Okay, moving ahead here. So we're gonna talk about wallets and storing your crypto. So what exactly is a wallet? So a cryptocurrency wallet is used to send and receive cryptocurrency. It's also used to store the public and/or private keys of that wallet. So just quickly, public keys, it's a publicly known key. It's essential for identification. Private key, it's kept secret and it's used for authentication and encrypted. So one quick thing about the private key, that's private, obviously. It should never, ever be shared with anybody. And you should never be asked to provide your private keys of your wallet under any circumstances. There's really no, if you have like a hardware wallet or a hot wallet or whatever, you should never be in a situation where you need to share your private keys. It just not required. The main reason for that being is whoever has access to your private keys can control your wallet. So if you give up your private keys or expose them, or if someone manages to get a hold of them, they can you can send what's in your wallet to themselves. So you always want to keep your private key private and never share that with anyone under any circumstance. Okay, so we're going to talk about types of wallets now. And I saw there was a question there about distinguishing. We'll expand on that like in the question and answer section. We just want to kind of get that definition across just so you can help understand the upcoming slides, but we can get into that more detail later. So types of wallets. So there's two main types of wallets I'm sure you're all familiar with. So those would be hot wallets and cold wallets, which is also referred to as cold storage. So hot wallets, essentially what it means is any cryptocurrency wallet that's connected to the internet. So what you might use a hot wallet and not know it. The hot wallet could just be like a mobile application you download on your phone, or like a wallet software you download on your computer. There's a lot of pros to hot wallets. They're very easy to set up. You download the wallet on your phone. It's an app from the App Store, and you're up and running within couple 30 seconds to a couple minutes. They're very easy to set up, easy to access if it's on your phone or your computer. Typically, they're more user friendly, I find, for beginners, and they're usually free to download. But because they are connected to the internet, they can be more susceptible to hackers and other technical vulnerabilities. So that's always something to consider when using a hot wallet. There are a lot of reputable hot wallets out there, but having that live connection can lead to vulnerabilities. So the next type of wallet would be a cold wallet. Like I said, it's also called cold storage. So that is any wallet that's not connected to the internet, and typically you'll find that it's a hardware wallet. When people refer to cold storage or cold wallets, they're referring to a hardware wallet most of the time. So pros about that, it's definitely more secure because your private keys are never exposed and they actually stay on the device. So they're never exposed, they're never online, your private keys are in the device. A couple of cons though about cold wallets, obviously they cost money to buy one. They're not free like the hot wallet is. You have to set it up, and because a setup is required, it's a little less user friendly and not like it might be harder for a beginner to understand on how to set that up, but it does give you that added security. So that would be the differences between hot and cold wallets. And then what type of wallet should you use? So we really wanted to define these because people always ask us, hey, what should I use? Should I buy a Ledger? Should I buy a Trezor? Like, what wallets you recommend? And we kind of broke this down into two categories. So how we determine what wallet to use, it's really the type of, or I would say it's really like depends on what you use cryptocurrency for and what what kind of category you fall under. So we divided up in two categories. So the first one is the hodler category, and that would be a holder. So you are holding on to your crypto. You don't really plan on trading that much. You don't really plan on selling for a while. You just want to store it safely and securely. And you just kind of want to set it and forget it. So for that, we definitely recommend using a hardware wallet. So like I mentioned, these two other brands earlier, Ledger and Trezor, those would be the industry leaders in hardware wallets. And they make some great products. They're definitely top of the line hardware wallets. When you do have your hardware wallet, you got to make sure to keep it in a secure and dry space. There is electronic equipment involved, so you don't want to get that wet. I know a lot of people, I know a lot of people might put in a safety deposit box, might have a safe in their house they can leave it in. Definitely want to keep it somewhere safe and secure. And then one other thing we just want to mention is never buy a hardware wallet from a reseller. It's a little riskier. Always buy direct from the manufacturer if you can. If you're buying from a reseller, it might be tampered with. It might not be covered under the manufacturer's warranty. You just want to be careful. Okay, so the other category that we put together here would be like a trader. So if you're someone who is checking the markets constantly and kind of wants to take advantage of the volatility in the cryptocurrency space, a hot wallet might be more suitable to your needs. And what I mean by that is that hot wallets generally give you easier access to your cryptocurrency, which lets you act quicker. So if you have a trade that you want to make, you can just send from your hot wallet to an exchange pretty quickly. But if that cryptocurrency is in a cold wallet, it might be a little hard to access. So hot wallets are definitely better in that situation. You can also leave cryptocurrency on an exchange, but keeping in mind, we'd only recommend to keep what you're actively trading on an exchange, and move to cold storage when you're not trading. It's just generally best practice. Bitbuy, we have a lot of security measures in place with our wallet system. We have a 95+% cold storage policy, but even then, we still recommend to only keep on exchange what you're planning on trading in the short term. One other thing about hot wallets is to check the source you're downloading the wallet from. We're going to touch upon this a little later in the presentation about phishing, but always check the source you're downloading from. Make sure it's the correct website, direct from the company that makes the wallet. They might have a GitHub page you can download it from. So just always make sure you're downloading it from the right place. If you're downloading it from the App Store, make sure it's the actual company's app. There's ways to check for that. We can touch upon that later if you guys have any questions on that. Yeah, and then also if you're trading and you are sending crypto back and forth between exchange and hot wallet and whatnot, always copy and paste the wallet addresses. Double check that you've entered the correct wallet address. Something that you always want to. You never want to kind of ease up on that. You always want to, make sure that you're double checking the wallet address is correct and all that, because you might be doing that. You might be sending a little more more often with a hot wallet. Okay, so moving ahead here. So we're going to talk about. We're going to go over the 3 key takeaways about that section we just went over. So the 3 main points we want to discuss here: never ever expose your private keys under any circumstances. Always use cold storage if you plan on holding long term, and only leave crypto on exchanges for short term trading. Those are just 3 general good rules to abide by when it comes to wallets and storing your crypto safely. Okay, so now we're going to move on to common scams that we have identified, and just that we hear. That we hear about, and just how we think you can identify them and protect yourself if you think you are falling victim to one, or someone who might be falling victim to one. But first, we just kind of want to go over some general points here about scams. So scams exist in traditional financial platforms and industries as well. They're not exclusive to crypto. However, that being said, with cryptocurrency, there's less recourse if you have been scammed, because cryptocurrency transactions are irreversible. So there's no chargebacks, there's no refunds. If you send your crypto to a scammer, they hold it, and we can't help you get it back. You really can't get it back. So scams exist, not just in crypto, but there is less recourse. There can be less recourse in crypto. So that being said, obviously do your own research on every crypto platform you deal with. You can never be too careful when you're dealing with irreversible transactions. So do your own research, know who you're dealing with, check out reviews online, social media presence. There's many ways you can kind of, do your own research on companies, and we're going to go over some of those later also. Another thing that we wanted to mention is to be careful of FOMO. So FOMO stands for fear of missing out. And essentially, what that means is you might get the feeling something, you might get the feeling that something happened. We'll use cryptocurrency as an example because, a lot of people are into cryptocurrency to make money, which is totally fine, valid reason. But they might have been introduced or might have heard a friend or family member or something online of someone who got into cryptocurrency early and made a lot of money. And, there definitely are stories like that are true. But, we don't want to let that cloud our judgment and think that there's easy ways to make money. And we always want to keep that FOMO in mind and in check when evaluating options, because you don't want to let, you don't want to let that greed take over. If you don't want to overlook anything that you might typically not have if you didn't have that FOMO in mind. And then just another general rule of thumb: if it sounds too good to be true, it generally is too good to be true. So, a couple good things to keep in mind is don't let FOMO cloud your judgment. And, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Okay, so we're going to talk about different types of scams now. So we're actually going to go into specific types of scams. So the first one we're going to cover, it's what we call like a fake broker scam. I don't know if that's like the technical or the definition of it, but that's what we call it here. And essentially what that is when you have been contacted by someone that promises high returns on an investment. Typically, so hold on. I see there's a question about it's offered too good to be true. So yeah, this one is a good example of that here. This fake broker scam. Just repeating where I left off. So a fake broker scam promises high returns on an investment, typically through crypto, foreign exchange, cloud mining, or binary options trading. Doesn't need to be those four, but we find that it's pretty common with those four categories. So like I said, a broker might contact you and say, hey, look, I can make you a ton of money through my cloud mining platform. It's a 99% guaranteed returns, no risk. You'll earn 10% daily on your investment. There's a foolproof system, blah, 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 right? So all these things that sound a little too good to be true. So there's a couple signs that you can look out for if you're dealing with someone like this. So like I've mentioned already, guarantee large profits with little to no risk. Sometimes they might, flaunt wealth in photos that they post, like with expensive cars or designer clothing. Typically, we find they aren't based in Canada. They might be based offshore. You can check for licenses if they're, you should always be looking for this when dealing with like a third-party trading or investment platform. Always look to, see if they're licensed. Sometimes we find that we've heard that they actually might send a small amount of profit to earn your trust in order for you to send more. But really, they're just trying to, make you believe that like you're earning money, but you might not be. We've heard is that you may be asked to send money to unlock profits or even like pay a tax to unlock your profits, which like doesn't really make sense. You shouldn't have to pay to, access your own money. And then one last point is they may ask you to download software to remotely access your computer. Never, ever, ever, download anything that gives anyone else access to your computer. That's a major red flag, and you definitely don't want to download that. So a couple examples here that you can see. We took some screen grabs here. So you can kind of just see here, very high success rate of over 99%. I mean, doesn't really make sense. It's not really possible. Live profit results. So like kind of going back to that FOMO comment I had earlier, it's like you're seeing all these other people make money. So you feel like you're missing out and you want to join in. And then also like personal stories or anecdotes about how it worked for, this person. These are all kind of common signs to look out for. Okay, so we're going to jump into a new type of category here. And then once we're done kind of covering all the categories, we will kind of do a rundown on what to do if you have been targeted or you think you're targeted. Okay, so the next type of scam that we want to talk about they're called romance scams. And romance scams essentially involve scammers taking advantage of someone looking for a romantic partner through online dating websites or social media. And this essentially plays on emotional triggers to get you to provide money and gifts and Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So romance scammers will express really strong emotions very quickly. And, they'll suggest that you move that relationship off the dating platform or off, social media to somewhere where they can control the conversation. So that's something to, be wary of. If you think you're talking to someone and you're not sure, that they're the real person or they are who they say they are, one thing you can do is it's called a reverse image search through Google. And what you can do is you can take any photos that they send you, or maybe like a profile photo, you can throw it into Google Images, and it will show you where that image has been posted on the web. So if you see that it may be connected to someone else, that's a red flag. Maybe, the person you're talking to got that picture online is pretending to be someone else, right? So there's ways you can kind of look out for yourself in this situation. A couple, really common indicators here for romance scams is that they say they're working overseas or they're traveling. So a couple of things, that you might run into is that they're working on an oil rig, or maybe they're in the military, or maybe they're a doctor with an international organization working overseas, and they'll often ask for Bitcoin or cryptocurrency to pay for a plane ticket or maybe travel expenses, pay for maybe medical expenses, or even like we've heard that delivery or custom fees to like send and receive packages. Typically, like these type of services don't accept Bitcoin as a form of payment, so that's another red flag and something to look out for. Okay, so we'll jump to the next type of scam here. Fake CRA scams. I'm sure many of you guys get these bogus phone calls. This is pretty popular here in Canada right now, and it's definitely a big issue. So something to keep in mind with these fake CRA scams. The person contacting you will be pretending to be a Canada Revenue Agency employee, and they want to trick you into paying fake debts with Bitcoin. A couple telltale signs that you're dealing with a fake CRA employee is they demand for immediate payment through Bitcoin. They might say like, hey, like, you owe this amount in taxes. There's a warrant out for your arrest. Like usually they're pretty threatening and they try to scare you and they try to, scare you into taking immediate action. They might ask for other information, like your passport information, health card information, driver's license information. And like I said, like they can be pretty aggressive. If you find yourself, on the phone with one of these guys, hang up and call the CRA directly. You can do that. They have publicly listed numbers. You can call them if you are unsure. But you should be careful because the CRA actually does reach out to people. But luckily, there's government websites that have information about what they will and what they won't contact you about. So you can definitely find that information out online, and we recommend hanging up and calling them directly.
Yeah, and this can take many forms as well. Somebody mentioned in the chat, IRS. There's a whole different.
Yeah, it's definitely not exclusive to the CRA. I find that it's definitely most commonly in Canada, people pretending to be CRA agents. But you are correct; it can be an IRS agent or other government organization. Person pretending to be someone from a different government organization for sure. Okay, so what to do? Okay, so what to do if you believe you've fallen victim to one of these scams, or maybe someone has fallen victim to one of these scams. The first and most important thing you should do is immediately stop all communication with the scammer. Block their phone number, block their email address, block them on social media. Any way that they communicate, any way they can communicate with you, you got to block all communication. Obviously, do not send them any additional money or cryptocurrency. Don't send them anything else. Don't believe that you need to send them anything else to get something, to get your original investment back, because that's just not going to happen. Change your passwords for your online accounts. So whether that be bank accounts, your online crypto accounts, e-commerce accounts, anything that that has personal information or maybe like connected to credit cards or whatnot, you're going to want to change your passwords. If you did download any software, like remote access software, you're going to want to delete that. And then also, if you do find yourself in this situation, share your story with friends and family, educate them so it doesn't happen to them. Tell them the signs, tell them what to look out for, maybe tell them where it happened so they know to be extra careful there. And then also one other thing you can do is you can actually contact us with certain information, like a wallet address, for example, and we can blacklist it from our system. And then we can also provide that information to one of our partners, Chainalysis, and they are the world's most comprehensive cryptocurrency investigation and transaction monitoring solution platform. And they can make a note that wallet address is related to a scam, and they can alert some of the people they work with as well. So they're a really good partner of ours, and essentially they just want to make this ecosystem more safe and more friendly for, for guys like us and our customers, and, just people who are passionate about the space. Okay, so 3 main takeaways here about identifying common scams. With cryptocurrency, less recourse when dealing with scams because the transactions are irreversible. Always do your own research, always be skeptical. And if you believe you have fallen victim to a scam, cut all communications immediately. Okay, so there's one other scam that we want to go over very quickly. I'm sure you guys might have come across this. So this is what it's called, the fake giveaway scam. Really popular on Twitter, especially crypto Twitter. If you guys, follow some of the big personalities and big companies in the space on Twitter. So how it works is you'll see a social media account that pretends to be somebody else. They'll, try to be someone popular in crypto, or maybe just like a celebrity, or even just pretend to be a business, right? So they'll change their name, change their picture, change their tweets to look like someone else. And that fake account will ask you to send cryptocurrency to a wallet address. And what they say is that any cryptocurrency you send to us, we'll send you more back in return, right? So obviously big red flag, but these people use, that trust of the figures they're impersonating, and, they kind of try to exploit that. Usually you'll see this on Twitter, but it can also be found on other platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and, LinkedIn, comment sections and forums, stuff like that. So you got to be very careful. And obviously never, ever, ever do this. Never send cryptocurrency to anyone claiming they will send you more in return. You will lose whatever you send. So, be very careful of that. So here, I'll show you just some examples quick. So on the left here, you can see Donald Trump. There's even a blue verified check mark, right? But if you look very closely, if you look at the username or the handle, it's not his actual handle or his username, right? It says something like Joe Joyce 2. So what we're seeing here is probably like a hacker or someone was able to get a hold of a verified account, and they changed information to look like Donald Trump. And, he made up some story like, I'm going to give away crypto, click on this link, and that link will tell you to send crypto to an address. Another example here is Brad Garlinghouse. He's the CEO of Ripple, the company, if you guys are familiar with him. Someone was actually able to get a hold of a YouTube account with close to 300,000 subscribers. And then he did a video here saying he's going to give away XRP through an airdrop, ask people to send him XRP, and, they didn't get anything back in return, obviously. One other thing to look out for is that you'll actually, even if you do come across these, you'll see replies of people that say like, oh my God, it worked. Thank you so much. Can't believe it worked. Those are part of the scam, right? So you're gonna be conscious of that. Those are probably fake accounts as well, and probably made by the same person who is doing the impersonating. And essentially it's just there to make it look more real, even though it's not. So definitely keep your eye out for those on social media. Okay, so now we're going to talk about something a little different, but definitely in the same kind of category. It's called phishing. So phishing, it's with a PH, it's essentially what it is. It's a method that people use to trick someone into providing information that can allow a scammer or hacker to gain access to your online accounts. So it can take the form of like an email or a text message. And the idea is that it looks like an email or text message you might receive from a service that you use, but it's not actually from them. And they're trying to get the information you might provide that service to them so they can use it against you. Phishing is actually one of the oldest types of cyber attacks, but it's still one of the most widespread today. Very, very popular. And unfortunately, as technology is advancing, phishing techniques are also advancing, becoming very sophisticated. So you really, really got to be careful. A couple ways that you can look out for these phishing attacks. There's a couple very common features that you'll see. So you might get an email or text message that says there's some suspicious activity or login attempts in your account. Please, click here to log in to make sure everything's okay. Or maybe it says there's a problem with your account or payment. information, or it might say that you might need to confirm some personal information. Usually they're poorly written. They don't, not always, sometimes they aren't, but they usually are poorly written, and sometimes there will be a suspicious attachment that they might want you to download on your computer. So you got to be careful with that. One thing you can do is, if you're unsure, always check the email address of the sender. You might notice that it's a little different. There might be something off with it. And if you can, contact them through other means, just to double check and make sure that it is legitimate and it's actually them trying to contact you. And then, of course, never click on a suspicious link or attachment. Okay, so a couple examples of phishing. So this is an email from Coinbase. Well, sorry, it's an email that looks like it's an email from Coinbase. But you can see here that it's pretty small. Hopefully you guys can see it, but the actual email address it came from, it's misspelled. There's an L at the end there, sent from a service that I don't think they would use. And it's actually asking something that most exchanges would not ask their users to do. So, keep in mind that it might look like it's from them, but you always check the email just to double check. And then, actually think about the email for a second and think, like, is this something they would actually send me? Like, is this something that this service I use, is that something that they would require their customers to do, right? Because a lot of the time with these phishing attempts, they're trying to get you to act on an impulse. They're trying to get that sense of urgency across. So if you just stop and think about it for a minute, sometimes it doesn't really make sense. Okay, so a different kind of example here. So the picture here on the left, this is Binance.com. This is what the website actually looks like, or looked like when this screenshot was taken. So Binance.com, obviously really popular exchange. They're pretty big. They're very big target for these kind of phishing attempts. So picture on the left here is what it actually looks like. Go back here to the Binance example. So I don't know if you guys saw that. So you can see here Binance.com, their official URL, and you can see here in the second picture BinanceWeb.com. And like I said, at first glance, that might seem real. Like if you just see Binance, you might think it's real. But obviously it's not the official URL, so you should not be logging in at all here. And then I think what would happen is, if you look at this third picture, that information that you enter gets taken by the person trying to phish you, and then they can use that to enter your Binance account. So yeah, those are a couple examples of phishing. Definitely keep an eye out. And then 3 key takeaways here about phishing. Double check all the relevant information in an email, text, or website. So check the URL, check the email address, check the phone number, just to be sure, right? If something seems off, there's ways you can kind of verify that you're actually dealing with the right person or right company. So double check that information. And then you can always, if you contact them through other means if you are suspicious. It's a good way just to verify that it's legitimate. Never click on a link or an attachment, obviously, that's suspicious or off that you don't think should be there. And then another thing we recommend is bookmark the services that you use often, like your crypto account or your bank account, so you don't have to manually enter the URL, or you don't have to go on Google every time and enter it and click on it, because you might type something wrong, or you might click on the wrong link. So bookmark your popular accounts for sure. A couple general security tips to end it off. One thing we really want to stress is, don't make yourself a target, right? Like, keep your holdings private, keep that to yourself. You don't really need to tell the whole world how much Bitcoin you own, or how much XRP or whatever cryptocurrency you own. Obviously, if it's a good feeling if you're passionate about crypto and you want to tell people about it, but be smart about it. Don't broadcast to the whole world what you're holding, what platform you use, whatnot. Like, obviously, share helpful information, but you just be careful. Don't put a target on your back, and know that there are people out there who try to look for this information and target people this way. So be very careful. You can always install antivirus software and anti-malware software. Always good to keep your computers up to date on that. And also stay off public Wi-Fi when dealing with cryptocurrency. that's, you know, just another precaution you can take just to be careful that you're on a protected network whenever you're dealing with your cryptocurrency. And then one other thing, I mean, we're always talking about keeping yourself very secure, keeping all this information to yourself, and you know, which you should, and which is obviously very important. But that being said, you know, it's always, you know, it is important to have a kind of like a recovery plan or a backup plan in case anything were to go wrong, and just prepare for, you know, every situation. You know, you don't want to, you know, lose access entirely. Just plan accordingly for every situation, and just, you know, have that emergency or backup plan in place. Yeah, so really just to wrap things up here, we're gonna just go over our three main takeaways just throughout the whole presentation, that we really want to, you know, drive these points across to you guys, is that Google Authenticator and a password manager are a very, very strong defense against bad actors, right? So having those two things, like, I think are essential in this day and age. And you should really, 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 you know, password manager for sure, because you can use that for any account. And Google Authenticator, when you can use it, you definitely should. And then another thing, another key takeaway would be just to utilize different wallets. Utilize different kinds of wallets to your, you know, to how you operate, right? So if you're a trader, you know, utilize a hot wallet so you can mitigate the risk of, you know, maybe missing out by having everything in your cold storage wallet and it's hard to access, right? So really know the type of, you know, cryptocurrency user you are, and use the type of wallets that kind of suit what you need, while mitigating as much risk as possible. And then the last point we just really want to drive home here is that cryptocurrency scams are really becoming more and more sophisticated every day and more widespread. So education is the most important thing here. Educate yourself as much as possible. You know, really stay up to date on, you know, how to protect yourself, and, you know, just try to stay one step ahead of the curve here. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, you know, that's it really for the presentation today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, you know, and learned a lot. There's always more that we really want to, you know, teach you guys. So happy you guys could join me today. And we'll definitely be making this recording available, and I'm sure we'll put some sort of article together that kind of summarizes this if you want to share it or go over it for yourself. So I think we're going to open up the floor now to questions and answers. I saw there were some in the chat that we, that we can go over.
One in the chat, what type of wallet do I have recently signed up with Bitbuy? So do you want to answer that one, Brandon?
What type of wallet do I have recently signed up with Bitbuy? Okay, so your Bitbuy account has the functionalities of a wallet built in. So essentially you can send crypto, you can receive crypto within your Bitbuy account, and you'll have a dedicated wallet section of your account that shows you your balances. And any cryptocurrency that you buy on Bitbuy, it goes into the balances, which is, you know, within your wallet, your Bitbuy wallet, essentially. It would typically, it acts more like a hot wallet. It's definitely not a cold storage wallet. You know, we don't give you access to those private keys. So if you are planning on storing your cryptocurrency long-term, we recommend sending it to a cold storage wallet. But, you know, like I did mention our cold storage policies earlier. You know, it is safe on Bitbuy, but, you know, best practices would definitely be to send your crypto to a cold storage wallet for safekeeping.
Yeah, and there was a question earlier about private key versus public key. Do you maybe just want to explain that really quickly as well?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just try to give a high level overview of that. So public key is like a public identifier for a wallet that, you know, you can share with, you know, you can share publicly. It just kind of is like that code or a string of letters and numbers that connects you to that connects you to that wallet, essentially. Private key would be a little different. It's a private, it's similar. It's a long string of letters and numbers that's generated when you create your wallet, that it gives you access to being able to send and receive cryptocurrency with that wallet. And it's essentially just like a code that you want to keep private. It's kind of like a master password for your account. It's not something that you typically would be handling like on a daily basis. Most wallets that do provide it have it kind of securely stored away and hard to access for a reason. So you don't really need to worry too much about it. If you have a cold storage wallet set up, because it's not really going to leave that device. But if you do have a hot wallet that does give you the private keys, obviously you keep that safe and secure.
Yeah, and one thing I'll just add to that is not all wallets will give you the access to the private keys. If you have access to the private keys, that's the most secure type of wallet, and it will often have a recovery phrase, which you should also protect. You shouldn't be sharing that with anyone because that's just the same as sharing your private key. I think we got another question here. How do I send Bitcoin to cold storage from Bitbuy as I am a hodler? Brandon, you want to answer?
Good question. So I mentioned the wallet function of your Bitbuy account. So you can send and receive cryptocurrency to and from your Bitbuy account. So just like you would send it, maybe to the crypto exchange or to a friend, you can send it to your cold storage wallet. You just need that wallet address. So you get that wallet address from your cold storage or hardware wallet, and then on Bitbuy you go through the withdrawal process and you enter that wallet address there. I see one other question from Garrett. Doesn't stay off public Wi-Fi run counter to the idea of widespread adoption. I see your point there, and for sure, I mean, it definitely doesn't go hand in hand. However, it's just like an extra step that is recommended when managing like your accounts and whatnot. If you have a hot wallet that you have a small amount in for transacting, maybe making purchases, obviously, you might need to use data or public Wi-Fi. But when it comes into like managing your whole holdings or like your accounts with sensitive information, that might be a better time to stay away from public Wi-Fi just in case. Thanks. Okay, Charlie, were there any other questions or?
Don't have any more in the chat here if anyone wants to add one.
I'm just going through the chat now, seeing what I missed. So someone said I missed the first 30 minutes of the webinar. Can I get a recording? Yeah, we're going to make that available. Someone said phishing has dramatically increased. Yes, it has. So, be very careful. A lot of scammers are at home right now and, a lot of time to kill. So, definitely stay alert. Okay. Let's see. Do you recommend I get a Trezor as I am a hodler as well? Yeah, Trezor is definitely a great hardware wallet, reputable brand, one of the industry leaders. I recommend Ledger, but Trezor would be a close second. I've never personally used a Trezor. I'm not too familiar, but I do know a lot of people use them and they're reputable. So it's really, comes down to preference. Trezor is definitely good, or Ledger as well. And yeah, okay. Note that Trezor address structure is different. Yeah, I mean, that's something you might want to do some research on before you make the purchase. In what circumstance can my agent have my wallet information so my account? Giving someone your wallet address, you can give someone your wallet address. They're not going to be able to, take any cryptocurrency out of your wallet address by just having your wallet address. Some people like to keep that private, just so, no one can see what transactions you're making. But there's, you can give someone your wallet address, if your agent is someone who's sending you cryptocurrency.
Okay, give an idea of what can be done to enable a loved one. So something like sharing your private key or your recovery phrase, writing it down on a piece of paper. So if you have a Trezor or a Ledger, there'll be a recovery key and a private key associated with that device. If you write that down, put it somewhere safe, don't tell anybody about it except for, a loved one that could recover it. If in case you weren't able to, that'd be an example of what to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Somebody asked as well, so if I have a Bitbuy wallet, I have a hot wallet. Yes, that's correct. The only difference being we don't allow you to have access to your private keys. So For that reason, for added security, we do recommend best practices withdraw to a wallet where you do have access to private key, just as an absolute fail-safe.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who joined. We really enjoyed putting this together for you, and this is information we think everyone should know. We know a lot of you guys enjoy using the platform, so we just want to make that experience as secure as possible, and just kind of want to build that trust and show you that we really want to inform you guys these best practices. And yeah, just continue using Bitbuy and continue adopting crypto in Canada and just driving the space forward.
Yeah, and
sorry, go ahead, Chuck.
If you have any more questions, we can always answer them at support@bitbuy.ca as well.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Yeah, and any questions, email support@bitbuy.ca, and we'll take it from there. Yeah, we're gonna log off, guys. Once again, thank you very, very much for joining, and hopefully we'll have a new one for you soon, and we'll send out information about that when we can.
All right, thanks everybody.